Alright, today we have the release of the McFarlane Toys-Warhammer 40k Assault Intercessor Primaris in ultramarine colors. I also have the Necron one, but I think I might break that into two parts. I'm not sure how long this might last. I've only had, I think, one McFarlane line toy ever. It was when I was younger. It was the Cursus Spawn. Remember, I got that because I kind of liked the Cursus Spawn, because every week I went down to the local gas station and the only thing they didn't have that wasn't Archie was Spawn. So I got hooked on that. And I remember the figure, how should I say, McFarlane toys have really good sculpts and their paint job's adequate, but the sculpt is so very nice that the kind of bare standard paint job sort of does it a misjustice, I would say. And I remember getting the Cursus Spawn doll, and he had, if you remember Cursus Spawn, he had all burnt up skin without the suit on, and he had like the bone structure coming out. I remember the texture on the bone was very eerie because it actually felt like bone, and the skin was kind of eerie because it felt like actual, how should I say, very soft, very smooth, so it had that weird kind of undertone muscle feel to it. But the problem was it was sort of weirdly assembled. It was very, how should I say, cheaply assembled. It was like the bone structures were super glued onto the flesh structure, so it fell apart really fast. And I don't think we'll have that problem with this guy. At least I hope not. So I'm going to get my Chinese steel and open him up. How should I say? Chinese steel. Now, already looking at him, he looks very similar to the Bandai Marine. You got the main part there, and you get the power pack separately. It almost seems like he has similar articulation, but we won't know until we finally secure him from. This might be a bit awkward, so let's see how we do this. We might have to take a brief break while we figure this out.
6.5 hours later.
Okay, the struggle was real on that one. He was really stuck in there nice and well. So let's play with him a bit and see what we got here. These cute little booties have some degree, but it's not very much articulation right there. The joints don't come out, shins aren't coming off, but it does look like they were glued on top. Side armor looks like it was stuck on. Ooh, that's very loosely tough. Those could actually break off in an instant. I don't know if you see that in there. Those are very thin. His arms, the shoulders have articulation. We got the neat little shield on it. His arm joints barely move. They're really stiff. But they only move. Okay, they have two ways, up and down and sideways a little bit. So we got a little bit of movement there. But they are very stiff. Does his torso? He's got some degree of movement from his upper torso. Head movement, side to side. There is some slight up-down movement, but it's very barely. Shoulder pads can at least move slightly. Very slightly. So let's take a look at the paint job too. Still got a bit of mold flashing on everything. Looks like it's just basic blue plastic. I don't think this was painted. This looks very much like blue plastic. The symbols had to have been using some kind of paint transfer, and no one did any of this by hand. Maybe the eyes. And the gold, it's very dark burnished gold, but it looks okay. The red is definitely red plastic, silver's paint, green eyes. And the eyes are actually pretty well painted on there, but the transfer at the bottom is a bit sloppy as it's peeling into the leg. And, let's see, how does his legs move? Let's take a look at those leg articulation. Leg articulation, very slight movement that way. Bendability, it's rough, but he does bend this way. The pack, No paint on the metallic parts, just like there's no paint on the ribbing on his hand there. Absolutely no blackness, not even inked whatsoever. Another stencil, ultramarine stencil right there. The pack should connect. Let's see. Might take a bit of doing, but that snapped in. Let's give him his chain sword, which, let's take a look at the painting on the chain sword. Looks like a metallic-y black and a very dark gunmetal. Slight bronzy gold. I don't even think it was ink washed. I think it was just very thin translucent paint put on top of an already silver plastic, I want to say. Let's see. I was afraid I was going to break this when I took it out. It's kind of bent now. Let's see how I'm going to get it into his hand, because that hand is some rough plastic right there in comparison to the sword. Alright, this might take a bit of time to get that on there, so let's try the gun hand. I'm sure that'll fit in much easier. Got like a rigor mortis death grip. I can't even get anything into his hands. Oh! Holy crap! He does not want to fit this, so we're going to take a small technical break and figure out how I'm going to get this in his hand.
Eventually.
And we're back. Slight technical difficulties. Took us a few minutes. Literally needed to use pliers to open his thumb to get that chainsword on. I have no idea how I'm going to get it out, but it's on now. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's do a little fashion show. See him twist his arm about, wield his weapons. So let's get some still shots and see if we can do some epic poses with our boy. Yeah, this guy was about, what, $25? Roughly $25, him and the Necron. They're supposed to be a paint-your-own version. I don't think I pre-ordered that one because I think that was supposed to be announced date, but that would be interesting. I definitely would pick that up and get a Blood Raven. Yeah, everybody likes Blood Ravens. Let's see here. Yeah, so let's go over it again. Points of articulation. Head just turns. Kinda has a degree of turning, but of that nodding, but I don't think it's supposed to turn that way. Shoulders move. We've got arm up, down, arm sideways, arm up, down, hands frozen. Like rigor mortis, need pliers to actually get weapons in. Torso, upper torso moves gently. Legs up, down, knee bend, legs bend slightly, slight wrist action. Not too bad for the price, I must say. A much better deal than the Bandai Space Marine. Sure, it was bigger. Sure, he had a few more extra parts, but he wasn't $100 good. This one is a bit more reasonable, I'd say, if you're looking for a collecting, if you're a toy collector, or you're really, really, really into Warhammer and have all the armies and don't really have any money to spend on anything but the books. If you're just starting out, playing Warhammer. I don't know if this is a good investment of your money, but it's only $25. Maybe you should consider getting your army together and or some reading material, but not bad for anybody if you're starting out or been a fan for a while. Definitely would recommend, actually. Not too bad. Especially if you just leave them in a box as a collector's item. And I think I'm going to do the Necron as a part 2, play with him, so we'll see what happens. You know, I was cleaning up everything, putting it back, and then I realized there's actually a foot base for him to keep him stabilized. But don't worry, it barely keeps him standing. If you breathe too hard, he'll fall over. Oh no, the wind knocked him over. I don't have anything against Archie. I've just never woke up one day and felt compelled to read an Archie comic ever. I'm a very simple man with simple taste. I want manly men doing manly stuff and explosions, and I want beautiful women, and I want TNA as far as the eye can see. Very simple, discerning taste, I assure you. I'm a man of impeccable culture.